Welcome again to our reflections on the Catholic liturgy for each Sunday. This is the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The theme of the readings is very obvious. It has to do with the unbelievable clemency and mercy of God, that God is a source of unbelievable forgiveness. Even the wisdom of the Old Testament is brought to bear on this, you might say, position that some might feel is more Christian than anything, but it's very ancient in the notion of who God is, who the God of Israel was to the people of Israel, and to what he means to all of us. As the Book of Wisdom puts it so beautifully, but though you are master of might, you judge with clemency, and with much lenience you govern, for power, whenever you will, attends you. And you taught your people by these deeds that those who are just must be kind, and you have gave your children good ground for hope, that you would permit repentance for their sins. And the beautiful psalm that we recite at this Mass, Lord, you are good and forgiving. Just that constant refrain comes back again and again. Lord, you are good and forgiving. You know, it's almost providential that this last week Pope Francis announced a number of new cardinals that he's going to make in September. And it's very interesting that the old adage, the last will be first, is so applicable to the list of cardinals that the Holy Father has announced. Because the last name on the list was a man by the name of Father Luis Pascual. Interesting. Father Luis Pascual is an Argentinian man, a priest, a Capuchin father, or friar as they're called, and he is 96 years old. Now, obviously, because he's 96, he cannot vote. Only those that are under 80 can vote in a papal conclave. So he has no power to vote, and yet the Pope is honoring him with this title of cardinal. And why? Because of his unbelievable service, even in retirement, to the Holy Sacrament of Penance, the forgiveness of sins. He spends hours in a confessional in a very prominent Argentinian shrine in Buenos Aires called Our Lady of Pompeii. And you might find it interesting that the neighborhood where this shrine is found is the birthplace of the tango. And there's many very famous areas where you can go tangoing. So it's quite a lively neighborhood in which Father Luis hears his confessions. But he was interviewed once by the local press, and they mentioned to him, he mentioned to them, that sometimes the people have too many smiles on their faces when they come out of a confessional. And some of my brother Capuchins upbraid me. They said, maybe you're just too easy of a confessor. And he said in this interview, sort of, you might say humorously, he said he scrupulously harbors doubts as to whether he has forgiven too much. However, he answered that one of the reasons he forgives too much is because Jesus gave me that bad example. Jesus forgave everyone, said Father Luis. Peter, the adulteress, Matthew, everyone, even the good thief on the cross. He said, saying that whenever he is frowned on by his fellow friars, because the faithful always go away happy after going to confession to him, he has a ready answer in his bad example, Jesus, in his generosity of forgiveness. What a marvelous expression. I mean, we know he's sort of joking along, bad example. He's really saying the example is Jesus. you may think is bad because maybe he's too easy. And I think sometimes we think that. Maybe God's too easy, but maybe thank God he is too easy for each of us. Because each of us need that forgiveness of God that comes in so many different ways to our lives. It's a forgiveness that's necessary in order to find the forgiveness that we need in our lives. And so you might say the message of this Sunday is God is an easy forgiver, but it isn't as easy to truly open our hearts to repentance, because the gift is marvelous, but the door has to be open to our hearts in order to receive it and experience that forgiveness of God. You, Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in kindness to all that call upon you. For you are great and do wondrous deeds. You are merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and fidelity. Lord, you are good and forgiving.